Coming to you live from parts unknown. Here are two guys hanging out, chatting about life, crime, and passing time. One loves to wear his sunglasses inside. He's a connoisseur of tasteless thoughts and an avid fan of Dawson's Creek. Who isn't? And the other is a man who's always willing to one-up your story. He loves his lawn a little too much and has a closet full of white New Balance sneakers. Who doesn't? Here are Captain and Morgan.
Welcome to Captain and Morgan. I am your host, Morgan, and once again with me, I should almost at this point say, as always, with me as always, is my good friend, your good friend now, it's Jerry.
Hello. We are live from parts unknown, and I am the most uncaptain I've ever been since we've been doing this show. I've got no beer, no bad smells, no banning of vans, never seen Dawson's Creek.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm wearing a bra, so totally not the captain.
You've never seen Dawson's Creek?
No, never, ever. I have no idea what it's about. I'm guessing it's about a river somewhere, but I've never seen it. Never. Shame on me.
Maybe that should be your captain homework for the week. You need to watch Dawson's Creek.
Is it? But hang on, is it a good show though, or is it a crap one?
I can say that. Well, no, I think it was okay. I think it was a good show. I never really watched it. I don't want to say never really watched it. I never watched it.
Okay.
When I was in school. So I graduated. I think we probably said this a million times. I graduated a year before Captain.
Okay.
But I never had any friends that sat around lunch tables going, "Oh, Dawson's Creek," or we didn't talk about like shows like that.
No.
So I didn't feel the need to have to watch Dawson's Creek or any television show just so I can fit into the conversation, I guess.
I see. So maybe it changed in his year then. He's like king of Dawson's Creek, isn't he? He loves it.
He loves it. He's probably watching it right now.
Probably.
Let's be honest.
Eating ice cream, watching Dawson's Creek. With his sunglasses on in the house. I don't have any sunglasses either. See, totally not captain today. I'm not channeling my inner captain very well. I'm going to have to sort this out for next week. I'll try and captain myself up a bit.
That's horrible. So horrible. Show's going downhill this week because you're not captain enough.
I'm not captain enough. Well, I've had some really nice messages actually. So thank you everyone for your messages on Twitter and on Instagram, telling me how much you love Captain and you miss him, and we miss him too. So he will be back. Don't worry, you're not going to have to put up with me forever. But thank you for your lovely messages saying how much you're enjoying it. So that's really nice. That's nice to know.
That is nice. I did break quarantine, not this past weekend, but 2 weekends ago to go visit him.
Did you?
We hung out. Yeah, we hung out on a Saturday night watching UFC, which was fun.
I love UFC.
But it was way too late. I think I told you this.
You were so tired, weren't you?
Just way, way, way too late. And so, like, I don't know. I probably got over there about 8:30, maybe, something like that. And it wasn't over until like 2 a.m. It's like, this is going on for way too long.
You know what this shows, doesn't it? This just shows that you two are getting old. Because before, when you were in your 20s, like nights out wouldn't start till like 11 p.m. And you'd
absolutely.
Like cracking on. Now you're like, oh, it's 2 a.m. It's too late. I need my bed. I'm getting old.
Yeah, I remember like back in the day, you look at your watch like 8 o'clock, like, oh God, it's way too early.
Yeah,
going out.
Exactly.
It's way too early. Got to wait. But now it's like 8 o'clock. It's like, okay, I'm ready to get my jammies.
That's right. I'm ready for bed. See you later, everyone. Going home.
Ready for bed. No, but I got so comfy, like on his couch, like we're watching it. I think he probably, fell asleep, a few times, but I was just laying there. And I remember just thinking to myself, I just want to go to sleep.
You two just look like that guy from
for a little bit.
I bet you. You both sat there with beer in your hands. Did you have check shirts on and you're both snoring?
Yes. Yeah. No. You know what? We actually, I didn't have a beer. I had Kraken and Coke.
Oh, okay.
That's what he was making for me. So yeah, no, I was just the just a Kraken. It was actually good. It wasn't bad, but no beer.
So what's his measures like during lockdown? Are they like quadrupled like everyone else's?
Well, yeah, a little bit, but I think he's worked so much anyways.
It's no different for him, is it?
No, not really. I think it's a little easier now with things kind of opening up and things being a little bit back to normal as much as they can.
Yeah.
So I know for a while he was having trouble because he would always do his grocery shopping late in evenings or at nights. And so when grocery stores were on like limited hours, I think he had a hard time with that. But with it, with the way things are now, I mean, store hours are pretty much back to normal.
Yeah. It's so much easier with the stores back to normal, though. Like, I'm the same. I like to do my shopping when no one's around. I like to go late in the evening, like an hour or two before they close, get it all done and come away again. I don't like busy shopping places because you can't look at stuff properly.
Yeah. No, I'm an early morning shopper. That's me.
I
like to get in and get done.
Yeah.
And the same thing for like a place like I know you guys don't have Targets there, but if I'm going to a place like Target, the earlier the better, because once you get to like midday, a store like Target is just ridiculously packed, like always.
Do you know?
So if you get in like right after it opens,
then it's
the
quiet.
whole store's empty, it's quiet. You get in, you get out, no problem.
So the girls that do the Date with Dateline podcast told me, they've been telling me all about Walmart over there, and I was so excited to come over and go to Walmart because apparently there's some crazy happenings in those Walmart shops.
Like, yeah, well, you guys have Walmart. Well, what is it? Is it Tesco?
Yeah, we have Tesco here.
Which is owned by Walmart, but it's probably not as Walmart crazy.
No, I mean,
it is here.
There's a whole website that tells you all about the goings on in Walmart, and like there's some crazy stuff on that, like totally crazy stuff. Like people shopping in their pants. Seriously, well, you don't call them pants. What do you call them?
Well, no.
Because that's normal for you. People shopping in pants. That's not weird, but
they're like underwear. What?
Yeah. There's this whole website, like this Walmart thing that shows you all the weird goings on and things that people have found in Walmart. And
the people of Walmart, is that it?
Yeah, and it's mad. I can't wait to visit. Sod the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to Walmart. That's where I'm going.
Oh, okay. I just pulled it up. I mean, I knew about it, but I don't think I've been on this website.
It's brilliant.
Ever.
It's brilliant.
Like here's a picture of a guy. He's wearing a Crown Royal bag as a mask.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There's loads of weird stuff on these people of Walmart. If you haven't seen it, go and have a look. The girl showed me this and it is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There's some weird stuff on there. There's like somebody who is in like a diver's suit and flippers, like shopping, and some lady with like her butt out, just walking around Walmart with her butt out. It's just crazy. There's some weird stuff.
This is amazing.
Now can you see why I'm excited to visit?
I don't know why Walmart is like that. I mean, I don't think I've seen anything like as crazy as some of the stuff on this website.
No,
but you definitely see crazy stuff like this guy wearing a bra as a mask.
Exactly. It's just it's mad. There's some strange stuff. There's a guy that was dressed as a dragon, just literally walking around Walmart dressed as a dragon. It's just some of them are just weird. Totally weird. But there's so much fun. Yeah, so if you want to have a look, it's peopleofwalmart.com. And you can just see all the different things that people have taken pictures and just uploaded it to this website. Like some slogan t-shirts that are just like priceless, absolutely brilliant slogan t-shirts.
Oh my God. When you come here, I'm definitely taking you to Walmart.
We're going to go and we're going to go ninja around Walmart.
We need to go to multiple Walmarts just to make sure that we don't miss anything.
Okay, and we'll take loads and loads of photos and we'll upload our visit. And hopefully it's as exciting as what they've got on here. Oh, there's a lady with a pair of boxer shorts around her face for a COVID mask. She's got pants. Did you see the video I did? God. The boxer shorts video I did?
No.
Oh, I'll send it to you. I did this. I'll see if I can upload it to Instagram. But I did this video of how to cover your face completely near enough, except for your eyes, with a pair of boxer shorts.
Yeah.
It's really good. You'll have to try it and send me the video of you trying it. It's brilliant.
Oh my god.
It's really
Are you
easy.
serious?
Yeah, no, serious. It's really good. I'll send it to you. You can have a good laugh.
All right. I'll try it out.
So, I'm having fun girlying up your little man cave, yours and Captain's man cave, with like glitter and bunting and stuff. There's no fart smells. There's no beer. It's a total girl world.
It is. It's nice. Speaking of which, I have my new little recording area, which I just moved down to. So
Very posh.
that's super excited about that.
Yeah.
I got my basement finished. So I guess this is the new Okay, so Captain calls his space. Well, he has the garage, which I don't want to ruin the mystique. It's not really a garage.
Don't tell people that.
I know. They used to be in the garage. His space is amazing. Like, it's unbelievable. But he also has a tree house, and so I need to come up with a great name for my recording area. So that's going to be maybe that's going to be the listeners' homework for the week. Just let's find a good name for my recording space.
It's very manly.
I don't
your
know.
Recording space. It's like you've got like lots of man stuff, haven't you?
But it isn't like manly, like sports cage or man cave type. It's just very masculine space.
It is. There's absolutely no girly stuff there. You're lucky I don't live there, because there would be bunting and there would be sparkly pillows. I would be coming round to your man cave and sparkling it up.
There's a lot of gray, a lot of like blue, navy,
black.
There's my Irish whiskey collection.
It's a grown-up man space, isn't it? Really, it's a grown-up space.
It is. It's not a bachelor pad.
No, it's not.
There are no like
babes.
movie posters on the wall. No Maxim magazines. It's
Well, so you say. I've only seen 3 walls of it. The other wall might be covered in babes and all sorts of stuff.
Don't look in the boxes.
Don't open any cupboards.
Don't look in the boxes. Don't look in no cupboard. Don't look for my hiding spaces. They're all over.
Also, I record like in the spare room in my house, but we've got like the spare bedroom in it, but I've convinced my husband to let me turn it into a recording studio. So I'm actually I'm gonna, because nobody really sleeps in here. No one comes to my house to visit, so only my mum, and she can go on the sofa bed. So we're going to turn it into like a cool little recording studio, which I think will be quite fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I want a bit of space.
Everyone needs a little space.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a little space. I just said something which reminded me. I'm going to give, before we get into this week's topic, I'm going to give one old. It's not a high school story; it's a college story.
Okay.
But I feel like I haven't given any good college stories lately.
No, there's been a lack.
So I said, don't look. There has been. So I said, don't. A little bit ago, I just said, don't look for all my hiding spaces, because they're everywhere. And that made me think of, in college. I know we've mentioned Indiana Avenue, where I lived on college, and I think we've had some stories about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived up there. I lived on the street called Indiana Avenue. This was up off campus, Ohio State University, and I moved up there when I was 20. So I lived there from 20 to almost 22. And the house that we had was actually a double house. I don't know what you call that in England. So it's a bigger house, but it has basically two homes connected, right? Or 2 living spaces.
Okay.
So so there were basically 2 sides to the house. It was split down the middle.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms on each side. So one side we had there were 3 friends that lived on one side. And then me and 2 other friends lived on the other side.
Okay.
And so we being college kids, we always did dumb shit all the time. And I don't know where this came or how this came up, but we decided that we were going to pull a prank on one of our friends, but it was going to be like a long-term prank where the payoff wasn't going to be until like years down the road.
Oh wow.
We have a friend named Vince that we would pick on a little bit.
Oh.
Because not pick on. he would often be the target of pranks because of his reaction, right? He always had a great reaction to pranks.
Okay.
Right? And mostly it'd be him just getting like really, really, really frustrated and irritated. So one day, one of my friends, Goldie, decided, hey, let's go down to like a secondhand bookstore or whatever, because they have all these really old adult magazines.
Okay.
Like magazines from like the 70s, 80s.
Oh, so
whatever.
like the hairy lady ones.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And so we went and got like a huge selection of all these magazines. A lot of them were like there would be like ethnic women or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And so our plan was we were going to cut up all these pictures and we are going to hide them all throughout his room. And we were gonna put them like in spots that some of the places where we put them, he was gonna obviously find them right away. But we also put stuff in locations where he may never find them, or he wouldn't find them until he actually moved out.
Oh no!
And so we would do this. We would put these pictures like in his textbooks, like his first class books. And so I know at one point he went to class and opened his book, and a picture fell out.
Oh no!
Right there on the floor.
Everyone thinks he's a total perv.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No.
And so yeah, he found a lot of them like right away. So once he found like the first one and he knew like, oh, you guys are assholes, he went through and he's like was collecting all the stuff up from his room. But he kept finding these pictures while he was up there and living but the best was when he actually finally moved out. So he lived up there. If I had to guess, he was probably up there for maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe.
Oh, wow.
At least, right? So that's how long he lived in that house. So when he finally moved out, he got his family's help, his mom and dad and sister and stuff. And so as they're moving, like his dad and stuff, guess what they kept finding?
Oh, that's awful. You're so mean.
They kept finding all these pictures, these porn pictures.
They're going to think he's got a problem.
All over.
Oh, God. Poor guy. That's really mean. You're horrible, horrible people.
The best jokes and the best pranks are those that can last for a long time, and they are seemingly endless.
I think it's worrying that you've got the foresight to think of something that far down the line. That must have taken some brain work.
I guarantee you, I have no idea who's living there now, but I guarantee you there's a college kid living in that room right now that has no idea that there are probably still pictures that we cut up in that room somewhere. I guarantee you.
Oh, that would be.
I know some of the places we put them. There's no way he or anyone else were gonna find them. So there were pictures like in the wall.
That's what I was going to say. So if you did like stupid things like under the carpets and stuff, it's like someone's going to buy that house, rip up the carpets and go, oh my God, look at this. Someone's had a real problem.
Yes.
Oh, that's
one day, 100 years from now, when they're like, this house needs to be condemned, and we got to tear it down. They're going to tear it down, and what they're going to find on the pile of rubble is these pictures of women with hairy bushes.
And men with moustaches. That's what it's going to be.
Yes.
Oh, we're going to be reading about this when you're like in your 80s. It's going to be on Wikipedia, the house of porn, where people just keep finding pictures all the time. It's going to be all your fault.
Oh my goodness.
That's brilliant.
I can't wait until Vince has a daughter who's my daughter's age, so they're both 6. So I can't wait until she's of age and we can tell her that story.
Yeah, that would be great. And your daughter's going to be dying of embarrassment and going, Dad, you can't say porn.
Dad. Porn. Yeah, it's like hey, this is the story of how your father Vince was addicted to porn.
Yeah. And she's you might
put up the pictures and hide them all over his room.
That's what you want to do. Like now he's older, you want to pop to his new house and go, oh, Vince, you're still doing it. There's still porn in this house. You dirty man.
Oh, poor Vince.
He would be like, oh, not again. Poor Vince.
I know.
I'm sorry, Vince.
Vince is actually
sorry your friends are so crap.
he's actually a good segue into our topic for this week, because Vince was, for the longest time, he was very into bodybuilding and lifting weights. Now, I don't know if he ever got into any illicit drugs. I don't think so. I don't think he did. I think he was, he would use protein whey, but he was huge for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone was like, "Oh, he probably used steroids."
Yeah.
But our topic this week, we talked about it last week, just very briefly on the show, and I put out a post letting you know that we're going to talk about it. We're going to be talking about Chris Benoit and the Chris Benoit, basically, you want to call it family tragedy, the double murder suicide of Chris Benoit and his wife Nancy and son Daniel.
I think that's a really good way to describe it. I think tragedy is, I think that is the right way, because it is actually, when you delve into it, everybody straight away kind of thinks, oh yeah, it's a steroid induced rage. He's on steroids. He's lost his temper. And when you delve into it, it's not quite as clear cut as that. And I think it is a really tragic story, actually.
No, absolutely. I think the easy answer is, it's a man gone mad and visually kills his family. Not that didn't happen, but I think there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
There is I don't have the answers. I don't think really anyone's going to have the true answers to what happened and why it happened, but it's something that we're going to talk about, and we're going to try to talk this out and see if we can come up with maybe not a conclusion, but
just maybe a slight understanding of what possibly could have happened. I don't think, like you're saying, I don't think anybody's ever going to know for sure, because people weren't there at the time. So the only person who really knows what happened is him, and obviously he can't tell us. So I think it's a very sad story, sad for him, sad for his family, and sad for the family that's now left behind. He had 3 children. He had David and Megan, who he had with his first wife, Martina. And then obviously he had Daniel with Nancy. So there were 3 kids involved in this, albeit 2 grown-up kids and a smaller one. But there are 2 kids left behind without their dad, which is, that's sad on its own. That's really sad.
Exactly. Now, while our story is going to be heavily talking about what happened between June 22nd and what do you want to say, June 24th of 2007.
Yeah.
I think there's a story that goes longer, goes farther back than that.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about Chris Benoit and who he is, and why this case is so famous. Chris Benoit, as you may or may not know, was a professional wrestler who wrestled for 22 years.
Yeah.
Wrestled for multiple promotions. He was born in 1967 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, but was raised in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he first got into wrestling right around 1985 when he started training with Stu Hart, who is the father of Bret Hart and Owen Hart, and wrestled for his Stampede Wrestling promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he did that for 4 years before moving on to Japan, where he wrestled in Japan from about 1986 to 1994. That's probably where he really got famous, or he made a name for himself.
Yeah. He started watching wrestling, I think he was 12 years old. He went to his very first wrestling event. And that was, I think it was the guy that he really loved was Tom Billington, this Dynamite Kid.
Oh.
That was his idol.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He absolutely idolized him. And he went to see it in the Hart family dungeon, and he absolutely loved it. And that's what sparked his love for wrestling. 12 years old. That's crazy.
And it's interesting because if you look at Tom Billington or Dynamite Kid, him and Chris Benoit are really comparable to each other.
Yeah.
Not only in style, but in size and stature.
So
if you looked at the two of them, they were very, very similar.
I was reading about this, and apparently Chris was not sort of taken the mickey out of, but sort of it was brought up a lot that he wasn't tall enough to be a wrestler.
Yes.
And now he was 5'11". That I don't think that's short, but maybe it's short in wrestling terms.
That's what he was billed at. So we got to remember when it comes to wrestling, and they're carnies, so they lie about everything.
Okay.
So while he was billed at like 5'10", 5'11", he wasn't. He was probably closer to maybe 5'8", 5'9".
Oh, okay. So he was quite small then for a wrestler. Because when you look at him, his bulk, he does look small. He doesn't look 5'11". And when I was reading that, I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, 5'11's not short. I mean, I'm 5'1 3/4", so 5'11's massive to me. But then that makes sense.
For the time that he got into it, he was definitely on the smaller side, because he got into wrestling in the mid 80s, and so mid 80s and 90s, and this is the age where, of course, steroids were prevalent, and it was always the bigger the better. So you had tall guys, you had huge guys. I think like Hulk Hogan. He was probably what 6'7", 6'8".
Exactly. The Undertaker.
So when
he was
you
like
compare
that,
so when you compare that to someone that, even if he was actually at 5'10", 5'11", that's still significantly short for that time period.
Yeah.
So he did have a lot to overcome, and so one of the ways he did it was, hey, he might not have the height, the stature for it, but he can put on muscle, and so that's what he focused on. He focused on trying to get big, just like Dynamite Kid.
And he was huge. Huge.
He was huge. Now, the other thing that he took from the Dynamite Kid, besides kind of his stature and how he wrestled, was one of his famous moves, Dynamite Kids, was the flying headbutt.
That's right.
Which is something that Chris Benoit decided he kind of picked up, and so he continued. This is basically a move where he would stand on the top rope and jump off the rope and land on his opponent's head, with his head, which, let's be honest, we know that wrestling, a lot of the moves are I don't want to say not real, but they're done in a safe way.
It's entertainment, isn't it?
It is entertainment, but still, anytime you're jumping off, ropes and you're going to headbutt something, your head's still going to be hitting the other person, right?
Yeah.
So it is really a dangerous move, and I think down the road that's going to have serious consequences for Chris Benoit. So after New Japan, so once again he was in New Japan until about 94. At that time, he also started wrestling for WCW World Championship Wrestling.
That's right, yeah.
Which was owned by Ted Turner at the time. And I think he got into that because around 92, 93, there was a like an inner promotion angle between World Championship Wrestling and New Japan Wrestling, where New Japan would send over some of the wrestlers, and WCW would send over their wrestlers to Japan, and they would kind of wrestle each other. So that's how he first got noticed by WCW, but he wasn't signed right away.
Okay.
After he left Japan, he wrestled for Extreme Championship Wrestling, or ECW, for 2 years, 94 and 95, which was I'd call that probably like hardcore wrestling. So they were a little bit more violent than your standard WWF, WCW wrestling. And then finally, he in 95, he made it into WCW.
Yeah.
Where he ends up meeting his future wife, Nancy, who was at the time, she was a valet for another WCW wrestler named Kevin Sullivan, who was also a booker for WCW. Basically, a booker is the person who kind of writes storylines and he kind of sets up matches for everyone, and decides who's going to win, who's going to lose.
That sounds like a fun job.
To decide to do that?
Yeah, definitely.
But wouldn't that be stressful though?
No, I think it'd be really good fun.
You got to keep everyone happy. You got to come up with interesting ideas.
You're never going to keep everyone happy. I like that in the old style wrestling days, like the 80s, 90s, when you had like the wrestler and then you had like his little entourage. So you had like the Hulk Hogan and the Miss Elizabeth and that kind of Randy Savage, that fight between them. And you had the women that didn't really wrestle then. They were just kind of like Nancy was. She was like woman, wasn't she? And she was really cool. And she was like, she was at the sidelines and was just kind of there promoting and doing that kind of stuff. And I liked it when it was like that. I think that was,
Yeah.
and they don't really have that anymore. There's no kind of like, there's nobody like her anymore.
Not really, no.
Because the girls are like
I
mean
mean,
wrestlers now.
well, most of them, yeah. I mean, I think there are some female managers, valets, what you want to call them, but nothing like what Woman was or Nancy
No.
was or even Miss Elizabeth.
That's right.
So it's completely different now.
Yeah.
Um,
But Kevin kind of
but
sealed his own fate, didn't he, with this? Because he is
he did.
choosing what's going on, writes this storyline, and then it comes true.
So, yeah, okay. Yeah, so let's get into this. So Kevin Sullivan, as I said, he is the booker.
Mhm.
He's also, at this time, he's married to Nancy. So they're married in real life. She's his valet. And as the booker, he decides to create a storyline where Chris Benoit and Nancy end up having an affair. And Nancy goes off and is with Chris.
And I saw the clips of
And
this. I saw the clips of this where he's like, Chris is really teasing Kevin Sullivan. And now you obviously know,
yeah.
looking back in hindsight, you know that it actually happened in real life. It's so cringeworthy to watch because it must have been awful for him.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, because here's the thing. So Kevin Sullivan was really into kayfabe. So if you don't know what kayfabe is that's basically creating the perception that everything is real, right? So in wrestling, you have kayfabe. So he wanted to keep kayfabe going with the storyline. So he actually had Nancy travel and like stay in the same hotel room as Chris Benoit during this whole angle.
Oh no.
So it's not just him going, okay, we're going to create a storyline, and in storyline, you're going to run off with Chris Benoit, and you're going to be his manager, and I'm going to be jealous, and we're going to fight. But then once the cameras are off, you're back to being my wife.
Yeah.
No. He's, as long as this was going on, he was like, you're going to be traveling with Chris. You're going to be, when you're in public, you're going to be in public with Chris Benoit. You're going to be in public holding his hand. You guys are going to be going in and out of the hotel together. You guys are going to be eating together. So everything you're doing is together.
No.
So what happens, right?
Yeah.
This storyline of Chris and Nancy having an affair turns out that they end up having an affair.
Yeah.
Nancy ends up leaving Kevin Sullivan.
Oh dear.
But you said it. He sealed his own fate.
I know, he's written it himself. He's got no one else to blame but himself. He pushed her basically into his arms, didn't he? Here, go into this into this hotel room with this really buff, nice looking man and pretend you're having an affair with him. Oh, whoops, you really do.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, Kevin Sullivan was not a good looking man compared to Chris Benoit.
No, I mean, Chris Benoit is not my cup of tea. Not my kind of thing, but compared to Kevin Sullivan,
he's better
looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. In all aspects.
No, so
poor old Kev.
So yeah, so they have this. They end up having an affair. Nancy ends up leaving Kevin Sullivan, and then I think it was in 2001, end up marrying.
Yeah, November
Chris
23rd,
Benoit.
they got married, 2000. And they'd already had Daniel, because they had Daniel was best man at the wedding. So Daniel was already there at the wedding. So not only did she marry him,
you're right.
She was pregnant and she'd had his child. I mean, that's the right kick in the teeth for Kevin Sullivan. But on the other hand, at least she just didn't like have an affair and leave him. At least she married him and, made a life of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's other part to it. I'm sure things weren't hunky dory between Nancy and Kevin. I don't know. But
Nancy's kicking herself that
it
he didn't set her up with like Stone Cold Steve Austin. She's like, damn it, why can't I have Stone Cold? Oh.
So that's going on. So he's in WCW still. In 1999, he ends up leaving WCW. Him and a group of really good friends in WCW ends up leaving and going over to WWF. So it was Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and and Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
so they end
friend.
his best friend Eddie Guerrero. So they end up going over to WCW because WCW, they felt like WCW wasn't giving them the opportunity because they were all smaller guys. And at that time, WCW was, I think they were probably still in the height of like NWO and basically all the bigger guys were getting, all the main events and
stuff.
getting all the good stuff. And so they were kind of left to the wayside. So they end up going to WWF, and this is probably where Chris Benoit had his most success.
Yeah.
So he was in WWF from 2000 till 2007, of course, when he committed suicide after the murders of his wife Nancy and son.
So it was 2003 that Nancy actually filed for divorce from Chris, and she cited cruel treatment and that the marriage was, broken down and they couldn't save it basically. She claimed then that he would break furniture in a rage and throw stuff around, and she got a restraining order out against him. But he begged her sister to let him talk to her, and the sister sort of rang up and said, "Okay, look, he really wants to talk to you. I think you should talk to him." And they ended up getting back together. And it was sort of from there onwards, it kind of went a bit downhill really after that.
Okay, so they're married in 2000.
2000, yeah.
And then 3 years later,
Yeah.
she files for divorce.
Yeah. So, I mean, they died in 2007. So we're going right back to 2003. She was already citing that there was, rage. And I think Chris Jericho, he described it as a volatile relationship. He said it was volatile all the way around. That's how he described it. He was quite close friends with Nancy and Chris. And he said, yeah, it was just a volatile relationship.
So there was already some sort of abuse or mistreatment going on.
Yeah.
Early in their marriage.
Yeah. But she did drop the restraining order, and they did sort of work things out, and things seemed to be okay. But he had, when his best friend Eddie Guerrero died, two of his other best friends died not very long after Eddie Guerrero. So he lost 3 really good friends within sort of like a few years of each other, which must have been like devastating.
Yeah, it was Eddie Guerrero who died in late 2005.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero was one of the wrestlers that went from WCW over to WWF with him. And like we said, his best friend, he was probably one of the very few people that Chris could confide in.
Yeah, they were really close.
Really, really talk to. Now, Eddie was found unconscious in his hotel room.
Yeah, by his nephew.
Now, I don't remember if it was it was heart failure.
Yeah, it was billed as natural causes. So he did die of natural causes, but it was related to heart disease. So he did have heart disease, which was linked to substance abuse throughout his adult life.
Now, HGH in steroids, or
yeah, it was. Okay, yeah, it was.
So he passed away, and then shortly after that, in 2006, I think it was his other good friend. I can't think of his real name off the top of my head, but it was Johnny Grunge who passed away.
Yeah.
Shortly after Eddie Guerrero, and I think that was probably what really started the downhill spiral for Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
Because short after these deaths, he fell into what people have said, which is a very deep depression.
Yeah.
Now people would always consider him to be quiet and kind of reserved anyways, but after Eddie passed, he I don't want to say he shut out the world, but he really stopped fully communicating with anyone.
He became a bit of a hermit, didn't he? He just didn't. He had this thing about not getting too close to anybody after losing. I think it was one of his friends was the one that he was best friends with, like locally to his house. There was Eddie Guerrero, who was his best friend sort of overall. Then there was a guy that he used to wrestle with in Japan that he was really, really good friends with. And then there was this guy that lived locally to him. And when those two died, I read the reports from like Nancy and other people saying that he basically just fell apart. His whole world just sort of fell to pieces, and he was struggling really bad, but not getting any help from anyone.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, he kind of, if I'm not mistaken, he started to get a little paranoid.
Yeah, he did.
Some paranoia started picking up. Like, he would do stuff like if he was driving to the gym to work out or whatnot, he would never take the same route twice.
No.
He always felt like there was someone, like people following him, and so he would always find different ways to get to and from.
Yeah, and he would never do things at the same time. So he would never go to the gym at exactly the same time or leave the house exactly the same time. He started to be really strange and do some really odd stuff. His sister-in-law was reported that she said that he started to behave very strangely.
Oh, absolutely. So in May 2007, in a series of text messages to Chris, Nancy began to complain to Chris about his steroid abuse and would refer to the WWE's wellness policy as a joke. One of the texts stated that she states, "I will not accept this steroid-induced roller coaster of emotional abuse. Ignoring the problem or running away isn't going to help you face it. You need professional help, and only if you're fully honest about it." Then later on that day, when she mentions the WWF wellness program, she says, "Get off the stuff. It's obvious you're on it. I'm probably not the only one who can see it, and we both know the wellness program is a joke."
So this WWE Talent Wellness Program is like a program that's designed to test the wrestlers for the drugs that they're using to make sure that it's clean. However, a lot of wrestlers were still able to take drugs and still pass those screenings. Chris did actually have a screening done like the week before his death and passed it, even though he had, elevated levels of testosterone in his system, which is not allowed when you're wrestling.
So any idea how they actually passed these?
I don't know. I mean, it was very when I was watching through, listening to the different wrestlers talking about it. I don't think there's anyone that will tell you how they did it, but it was common knowledge that a lot of them did do certain things to pass it.
I know, like people would have cycle on and off of drugs.
Yeah.
But I would still think that if he had in his autopsy, if he had a significant elevated amount of testosterone, that should show up on any test that was taken like a week prior, right?
But I wonder how long. I don't know how long it stays in your system for. In Chris's autopsy report, because I read through his autopsy report, and quite a lot of it I did understand, but quite a lot of it I did have to Google quite a bit. So my Google history is going to be fascinating. Someone who's looking through. But his autopsy report stated that he had fine scalp hair. He also had testicular atrophy, which is damage to the sort of inside of his testicles, which is also suggestive of long-term steroid abuse. So this is not something that's sort of going to go away if you just stop taking them while you have your test done. This is sort of long-term damage. He had also liver damage, which was another sign of that. He had an enlarged heart as well, and I know that athletes usually do have larger hearts than us general humans, but his heart actually weighed 620 grams at the autopsy, and the average weight of a heart for a man between 31 and 40 is 289.6 grams.
So we're talking almost 3 times the size.
Yeah, and
of a normal
heart, and now that is linked to alcohol and cocaine abuse. And there are reports that obviously he did have problems with alcohol intake. So I haven't really read much about him taking cocaine, but that's just what it says in the medical journals, that I think it's cardiomegaly. That's what it was that he had, and that was documented on his. So that's fact. It's documented on his autopsy report, and that is linked with high blood pressure due to, amongst other things, alcohol and cocaine abuse. So, yeah, interesting.
Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was abusing at least painkillers, and he had been doing so since the early 2000s, when he had due to injury. He had an injury that required surgery.
He had an accident, didn't he? Some sort of accident.
Yeah. I want to say it was a neck injury.
Yeah, it was an injury to his neck. I think it was a car accident. And he had an injury to his neck, and he was taking. He had an operation and was taking pain medication from that. And that's sort of when his substance abuse with pain medication was started. Now, he had Xanax in his system, hydrocodone, and he had elevated testosterone at the point of his autopsy. However, the chief medical examiner did say that at the time of his death, there was no indication that anything in his body contributed to violent behavior and led to, the suicide and the murders. He was saying that he had been using illegal steroids. It was obvious, which was not in compliance with the program, the talent program, the wellness program. But the two drugs that was found that he was taking quite frequently was this, I think it's nandrolone and anastrozolone. I think it's really long, weird words, but one of them, the nandrolone is, there's no anger or behavioural side effects to that, because I checked all the side effects. That one increases the muscle growth and the bone density of the body, and the other one decreases estrogen in the body, so that obviously elevates the testosterone. So he's taking two drugs, one that's elevating his testosterone and the other one that's building his muscles, but neither of those, reading through their side effects, neither of those have anger or outbursts or anything as a side effect. It's more like pimples and bad skin, small penis, that kind of stuff. That's what it says. That's what it says in the side effects. So yeah, that's what they're saying. But anabolic steroids rarely, apparently, according to the medical journal, they said that this roid rage is actually quite rare. It's usually only likely amongst excessive users that have already got a pre-existing psychological issue. So maybe he had a pre-existing psychological issue when he was younger. You just don't know, do you? There's nothing documented that he did, but you don't know.
Now, I wonder if steroid use coupled with something like CTE, would cause that. The farther the more damage to your brain, and if that would move you towards more outbursts.
So obviously I don't know if everybody, but I've watched the Aaron Hernandez documentary, and I've done a lot of research on Aaron Hernandez and the effect that the CTE had on his brain. If you don't know what it is, I'll let Morgan tell you the actual name of it, because I can never ever say it. the proper word. It's chronic traumatic encephaly. I can't say it. Encephaly or something like that.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, it's CTE anyway. Basically, it's caused by damage to the brain from repeat hits to the head, and this is why a lot of NFL players have this problem, because obviously they're constantly getting hit in the head, and boxers get this as well. And if you've ever known anybody that's got Alzheimer's or dementia, Chris's brain was taken by a guy called Christopher Nowinski, who was a former wrestler, who's now got this foundation that's basically documents stuff, with head injuries on the brain. And his tests showed that Chris's brain was so severely damaged that it resembled that of an 85-year-old Alzheimer patient. And I mean, Chris was 40, so that's a huge difference. And if you've ever known anybody that's got Alzheimer's or dementia, the change in a person through that can be very rapid, and it can be huge. My grandfather's got dementia, and he has had a rapid decline in the last year. He's gone from knowing who I am and being a very quiet, mild-mannered person to, on occasion, being very violent, very strong, at the flip of a switch. And he doesn't know what's happening. He has no idea what's going on. You can have, before, I could have like a normal conversation with him, and then something would happen and he would just flip like a switch. And it's dangerous because, I mean, he's an 80-something-year-old man, and okay, you can generally grab hold of somebody like that and stop them. If you look at somebody like Chris Benoit, who is physically fit, very big, very strong, if he was to flip like that, how would you stop someone if you're a woman, you know, like somebody the size of Nancy?
Mm-hmm.
That makes me wonder, is it the damage to his brain that's caused him to just totally flip out? Coupled with obviously drugs, alcohol, and all the rest of the stuff that's going on.
I don't know.
I mean, he's obviously got, I mean, it's a fact. He's obviously got proper brain damage. There's obviously, surely that must have affected him. It must have affected his daily life.
Well, let's get into, before we jump into what caused the cause of his snap, or whatever you want to say. Let's just get into the weekend of June 22nd. So June 22nd was a Friday. Early in the day, Chris Benoit did visit his doctor, who did not notice anything abnormal with Chris. He didn't notice any depression, any anger. For all intents and purposes, it was a completely normal visit. Sometime that evening on the 22nd, what we know is that Chris strangled Nancy, and she passed away. Also in the house was his 7-year-old son, Daniel, who was not killed immediately after. From what we understand, it was probably either late Friday or early Saturday.
Yeah,
when he was.
His autopsy report says it was he was killed a while after Nancy. They believe the next day, going from his autopsy report.
Now I'm trying to remember. Was there anything? What indicated that was later on Saturday?
I think it's the bodies. I think it was that's what did it. It was the condition of the bodies and stuff that they did the timing of the deaths, and it was Nancy was killed a while before he was. I mean, that doesn't mean to say that he wasn't. Obviously, he was sedated before he was killed, and he was suffocated from his autopsy report. That's what it says. But that doesn't mean to say that he hadn't been sedated for a while beforehand. So
he was smothered, but he also had traces of, was it Xanax in his system?
Yeah.
So it almost sounds like he was given Xanax to basically make him to put him to sleep. I don't know. And then he was smothered. Is that how you read it?
That's how I read it. Is that he was sedated first, and then he was suffocated. Yeah. Nancy also had Xanax in her system, but they don't believe that she was sedated at the time of her death.
Now, with Nancy, was there any other any indications of any physical violence besides strangulation?
Nancy's it's a really hard read, actually. It's a very hard read, her autopsy report. It's not, I mean, I know none of them are nice, but hers particularly wasn't a very it was an interesting read. Nancy was found face down in the upstairs room in their house. She was covered over with a blanket, and she had blunt trauma to her head. No sort of splits, but it was blunt trauma to her head. She also had trauma and contusions and abrasions to her buttocks and her legs. Her hands and her feet were tied with rope and with coaxial cable, so like a phone charger cable or some sort of cable. Both her hands and her feet were found with like electrical charger cable. She
Yeah.
also had. I've read a lot about people saying that her back was broken, but on her autopsy report, there's nothing in her skeleton to say that there were any broken bones. However, she did have tissue damage to her upper back, which is consistent with pressure being applied to her back or her chest. Nancy was left for a couple of days before anyone found her, and her body was not in a very good condition. So she had deteriorated quite a lot when they did find her. So it was very hard for them to do the toxicology reports and things because of the way her body had changed post-mortem. So it's unfortunately they couldn't really test to see the stomach contents to see what was in there so much as in if there were pills or anything like that in there because of the changes post-mortem. So there was she was quite badly decomposed when they found her.
So there's a lot of violence
Yeah.
aimed towards Nancy,
Yeah,
but
but
nothing towards
Nothing.
Daniel. So it's
No.
almost like Daniel was more of a I'm trying to think of how I want to say this.
It seemed it was Nancy's was quite violent, whereas Daniel's it was not. You can't really say it was it was mercy, but it was it was
It was though compared to Nancy. So there was whatever the anger was not towards Daniel.
No.
It was almost the way I want to I would say it is okay, so if we go back to last week, we talked about Count Xavier, and we talked about the son that was in college, and he brought him back, and he killed him. Where that was almost like I kind of want to save him from, the being tarnished or so it's almost like maybe Chris had realized what he did, and he was like, he doesn't want to leave Daniel in a world without his mom and then without his dad. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems just looking at it, it seems that Nancy's was a rage-filled murder, whereas Daniel's was it was thought out. I mean, it obviously was thought out. It was that was a premeditated thing because obviously he knew what he was going to do, and Daniel was sedated. So again, like the murders in France, those children were also sedated before they were killed, and so that suggests a level of not love so much, but a level of care at least that it's you care about the person, whereas it seems that Nancy's was kind of like a rageful kind of murder.
Because let's be honest, like with Daniel, there was no need to sedate him in order to smother him.
No.
Daniel was on the smaller side to begin with.
Yeah.
He was small. He was 7 years old.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he sedated it to make it easier for him to do it, maybe, possibly. So that you don't want to feel your son fighting against you, and you don't want to hear the cries or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly.
So these murders occur on the night of Friday 22nd, Saturday the 23rd, and then things kind of get a little weird from this point.
Yeah, really weird.
So this weekend there was a scheduled pay-per-view event on Sunday night, on the 24th, which was supposed to be in Houston, which Chris was supposed to work, but he was also supposed to be working the night before at a house show in Beaumont, Texas. And so at about 3:30 p.m. on Saturday the 23rd, a coworker, Chavo Guerrero, received a voicemail from Chris stating that he had missed his flight and had overslept and would be late for the event that night.
Which was really unlike Chris. Really, really unlike him. Wrestling was his life. He was never late for anything. So that straight away was a bit strange that he had overslept and missed a flight.
Yeah. And so the coworker called back and Chris confirmed everything he had said in his voicemail. And Chavo Guerrero, who is the nephew of Eddie Guerrero, who we mentioned earlier, stated that he sounded tired and groggy. And then Chris at that point stated that he said, "I love you," which was completely out of out of context for him or something that
Yeah.
he doesn't do,
Yeah.
right? So he wasn't a person that was like, I love you, especially a coworker. 12 minutes later, the Chavo had some concerns with Chris's tone and demeanor and called him back for a second time, which Chris did not answer, and he ended up leaving Chris a voicemail stating, "Call me back." He then got a call back from Chris at 3:44 p.m. stating that he didn't answer because he was on the phone with Delta changing his flight, and that Chris stated that he had a real stressful day due to Nancy and Daniel being sick with food poisoning.
So by this point, they were both already dead.
They're both already dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the first time he's mentioned them. He mentions food poisoning.
Yeah.
So he states that they're sick with food poisoning. He ends up discussing travel plans for the show that night, and then the show the next day. And he was still sounding groggy at this point. So then at 4:30 that same night, another coworker who often traveled with Chris called him from outside the Houston airport. Chris had told that coworker that Nancy was throwing up blood and that Daniel was also throwing up. Chris thought that they both had food poisoning. He stated that he changed his flight and would be arriving into Houston at 6:30 p.m. He told that coworker to go ahead and drive to the event without him. 5:35 p.m. Chris then called WWE Talent Relations, stating that his son was throwing up and that he and Nancy were in the hospital with their son, and that Chris would be taking a later flight into Houston, landing late, but he would make it to the event that night in Beaumont. At 6:10 that night, the representative called Chris back and asked Chris once again what time he was getting to Beaumont. Chris responded that he was leaving Atlanta at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time and arriving at Houston at 9:24 Central Time. The representatives advised Chris that he would be too late to make that show the night and that he should just go ahead and just take the flight to Houston, get rested up, and be ready for the event the next night, the pay-per-view the next night. Then 6:13 p.m., the representative from WWE once again called Chris to reconfirm the travel plans, but did not get an answer from Chris. The representative went ahead and left a voicemail to Chris saying, once again, take the flight and rest up. So that was the last we heard of Chris Benoit on Saturday.
Yeah.
Now we get into Sunday. Now Sunday, this was early Sunday, so about 4 a.m. Sunday morning, there were texts that came from both Chris Benoit's cell phone as well as Nancy's cell phone.
Yeah, and it was exactly the same message, wasn't it, from both?
From all of them, yeah. So the first one was from his cell phone. This was at 5:35 a.m. on Sunday, June 24th, which was sent to Chavo Guerrero and another wrestler. I can't remember who the second wrestler that he sent it to was. But the first one wrote, "My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30215. Less than a minute later, a second one was sent, which stated, "The dogs are in the enclosed pool area. Garage side door is open." Then he repeated that text to the same two wrestlers from Nancy. So this was a minute to 2 minutes after those first ones, which is, "My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30215.
And this is like 5 a.m. in the morning.
4 a.m. Yeah,
4 a.m.
4
okay.
a.m. in the morning. Yeah. So then after that, so we got to remember he was supposed to be at a show that night. He never doesn't no show. He's never not in communication.
In 22 years, WWE, that's right.
In 22 years, yeah. So that night, WWE made several attempts to contact Chris via phone and text messages, as well as they checked all the local hospitals in the Atlanta area. And then as of 11 p.m. Saturday night, there had been no contact made with Chris Benoit. So then so the following day, so Monday, June 25th, WWE was finally notified by Chavo Guerrero of the text messages that were sent at 4 a.m. the previous morning. 12:45, WWE contacted Fayetteville County Sheriff's Office and requested them to go to Benoit's residence. Then at 4 p.m., WWE received a call from Fayetteville County Sheriff offices advising that they entered the house of Chris Benoit and found 3 deceased bodies, a male, female, and child, which of course were Chris Benoit, Nancy, and Daniel. Then, of course, the house was secured as a major crime scene, and that they had no further information at that time.
Mm. And I think I mean, that the whole text thing, I think, is really strange because, bearing in mind, Nancy was killed, they believe from her autopsy, they believe she was killed on the Friday, Daniel on the Saturday, and then these text messages and things are coming from Chris's phone. I mean, it can only be Chris that's doing it. Chris and Nancy's phone on the Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. So that, I mean, Nancy died Friday. That's a long time before he kind of. And that makes me wonder. Obviously, I can understand the rage if you were to, be arguing with somebody. We know that their relationship was volatile. We know that they were having some problems like that. We know that there was alcohol involved because the crime scene photos show half bottles of wine and alcohol. You can see that they've been drinking, and also you can, although it does say in both autopsy reports that the drugs in both of their systems, Nancy and Chris's, were of a recreational use, not an elevated, other than the testosterone, not an elevated level. And so there's nothing really from a toxicology report that actually that points to something that's immediately stands out to you as being, well, he had this in his system and that can cause this. Obviously, unfortunately, due to the decomposition of Nancy, they can't actually test her blood alcohol level because of the problems with that. So that's sort of inconclusive as to whether or not she had been drinking a lot. But Chris hadn't. He had alcohol in his system, but it wasn't majorly high levels of alcohol. But it could have come out of his system from Friday by the time he had died on the Monday.
Or Sunday.
Sorry,
so it's my assumption that he died probably shortly after 4 a.m. on Sunday. So let's say Nancy died Friday evening, and then Daniel died sometime Saturday morning. So we're talking at least 36 hours from Nancy's death until when Chris killed himself. Now he ended up killing himself by using a weight machine cord to hang himself by creating a noose from the end of the cord on the pull down machine, which ended up, and so he released the weight, which caused strangulation. Now what's crazy, so let's go back to Saturday real quick. So we know that he was in communication with at least 2 coworkers, one being Chavo Guerrero. He was in contact with WWE, which it sounds like he had every intention of actually making the show. And we also know that for the fact that on his computer, he actually was searching directions to the actual venue where they're supposed to be wrestling.
But he didn't book the flights, did he? The flight wasn't actually booked. He was just researching times that he could be there and how to get there.
Yes.
But the flight wasn't actually booked. So
do you think that he was planning on actually attending it if he could?
I don't think he was.
You don't think so?
No, I think it was. I think he was buying himself some time. I think he was buying himself some time by checking to see when he could get there and how to get there, and so that he could then go back to them and say, "Look, I'm coming. I'm on my way," and they're not going to worry about him if he's saying he's on his way. So he's buying himself a little bit of time. I mean, it must have been a desperate. If let's just say hypothetically, if he and Nancy argued and he in a rage killed her, he's then got that realization once he sort of comes a little bit to he's not going to be in a rage for 3 days. He's going to have come to his senses at some point and thinking, shit, she's dead. Now what do I do? What do you do now? He's supposed to be somewhere. I don't think straight away he would have thought, right, that's it, I'm going to kill Daniel and then I'm going to kill myself. I don't think it was as quick as that.
You know what? I don't think he would have ever had that moment of, oh my God, I actually killed her. Only for the fact that he tied her up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless he's like in some sort of, I don't know, some sort of like blind rage.
Mm.
But even in a blind rage, would you still have the time to tie someone up?
I mean, we don't know. We don't know if she died first and then was tied up, or if she was tied up and then was killed. We don't know how that.
Yeah.
We don't really know how that played out, and unfortunately, because of the decomposition, there's not really. It's very approximate with Nancy. Everything's very approximate with her because of the situation you find yourself in with her. So I think it's really, really hard. So many what ifs,
Yeah.
what ifs, what ifs.
I think the one thing we could probably agree on. I know that there's people out there that think it's some sort of conspiracy theory that it was some third party that killed all three of them, and there's some huge cover up. I don't think that's.
I don't know.
I think his actions, especially his actions on Saturday, make it very clear that that's not the case, right? So he's not going to be texting Chavo saying, "Hey, Nancy and Daniel are sick with food poisoning, and I got to take care of them." If it was a third person who went into the home and killed, and you have to imagine too, they're in their house for, once again, over 36 hours, so they have to be killing and torturing Daniel and Chris Benoit before leaving the house. So no. There's no conspiracy. There's no third. Kevin Sullivan isn't coming back into that house to get revenge on Chris Benoit, who stole his wife like more than 10 years prior.
Yeah, I think that's more of a conspiracy, kind of a sensationalized sort of. It's just, I think this is quite clearly a very, very sad and tragic case. I think you've got a very troubled man who is suffering from not only trauma to his head over many, many years of wrestling, which has obviously given damage to his brain. You've also got him who is extremely depressed and full of grief from losing friends that were really close to him. He's also in a relationship that is quite volatile, possibly mostly because of his behavior, but it is a volatile relationship. And that's all sort of, again, that's all sort of coupled with the blood, with the drugs and the alcohol. And I mean, the guy is messed up. He's not in a good way to start with. And it's
let's be honest, he is in a profession where it's a manly profession. You have, it's not a profession where you admit weakness.
No.
So he never got the help he needed.
No.
He never got the help he needed. And I don't think he ever wanted to get the help.
No.
I don't think he was in the mindset to even consider the fact that maybe he needed help to resolve some of these internal issues he had.
I know that they gave him, when Eddie Guerrero died, they gave him a diary because he would just go around to Eddie's house, and Eddie's wife Vicky would just find him in a heap, just sobbing on Eddie's side of the bed. And she said multiple times that Eddie's kids would come in and say, "Mum, Chris is crying again. He's up in Dad's gym. He's crying again." And that's signs that things are not good. You've got a man who is in his best friend's house, lying on his best friend's bed, crying with his wife. I mean, his wife seemed to be in a stronger mental position than his best friend. And that sort of, the thing that confuses me with this is the clarity of then ringing WWE and texting to say that that both of them have got sickness bugs and both of them aren't very well and that he's going to be late. That just confuses me because that sounds to me quite thought out. And obviously that's a bit strange because I don't know whether he was buying himself a bit more time, and then I really don't know. It's a very strange timeline of events, this one, and it's very hard to find a clear link between what's happening.
No, you're exactly right. It's unfortunate what happened. It's like I said, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
For multiple people, and it's something that didn't have to happen. It's something that could have been prevented. I don't want to place blame on anyone because I don't think there's anyone truly to blame besides Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
But I think that there were people within WWE, their friends of his that could have done more for him.
I think that's
I
think that's a really good point. I think that I don't know the internal workings of WWE, but surely there must be a team of sort of like the well checkers. That surely there must be people that are there to look at the welfare of the athletes and to check on things like that. I mean, surely we know from back then we didn't know, but obviously now we know that repeated blows to the head can cause this, and prolonged use of this can cause problems. But surely there must have been people that would look out for them, and maybe not. Maybe there wasn't like a team that did that, but. Could there have been? Should there have been? Is that down to them? Is that their problem? Then I don't know.
I mean, especially with, after the death of Eddie and with him, crying and, uncontrollably and, visiting his home and his gym.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Vicky Guerrero was employed by WWE.
Mm.
So there had to be some sort of communication between her and the powers that be at WWE saying, hey, look, there's something wrong with Chris.
Yeah. He's not good. He's really not good.
He's not good. He's in a bad space. And I understand, like, maybe they don't have things set up for that, but, maybe they do. Maybe they need to have things available. I mean, most workplaces have services available for employees to call if they're having issues, right?
Now
I mean, now
but
they do.
back then, obviously, they didn't.
13 years ago? Maybe they did. I don't know.
No, I'm not sure.
You don't think they had it? You don't think 13 years ago?
No, I don't think they had it to the scale that we've got it now. I don't think mental health was as prevalent and looked at as it is now. And I think maybe back then it was just WWE is huge. I mean, it's massive. And I wonder if maybe they didn't have the care that they perhaps could have had back then, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And and I really think it's something that even I don't know what they have now, but it's something that they do need.
Mm.
When you have employees who are traveling, I mean, how many days of the year do you think they're traveling? I mean, 300 out of 365, something ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
When you have them traveling, they're away from their families so much. The chance of having some sort of mental health issues or emotional breakdowns is going to have to be, very, very high.
And it was also like after what happened, I mean, literally as soon as it happened and there was word of Chris's death, straight away the WWE put out this like tribute to him, didn't they? And it was lots of different wrestlers took part saying how much they miss Chris and this kind of thing, but they hadn't actually got all the information as to what had happened. And so pretty soon everybody started to realize that Chris actually had murdered his wife and his son and then committed suicide himself. And then he was kind of like erased completely from WWE history. Completely like he'd never existed. And I wonder if is that a helpful thing? Okay, what he did was awful, but he wasn't a normal everyday man that just decided to kill his wife and his son. This was a severe this was something mentally that wasn't right. This wasn't that he was just evil and had premeditated this murder and had planned it and like a serial killer. I mean, this was a sad, and perhaps it could have been turned around a bit more into being a bit more, not understanding so much, but maybe a bit more, whoa, look, maybe we have to address this and not just wipe the guy out of history, because he was a huge part of the WWE. And but would it be
no, you're absolutely right.
I think it's a bit strange that they just completely wiped him out from everywhere, and then they weren't allowed to talk about him. Like Vicky Guerrero wasn't allowed. They weren't allowed to mention the word Benoit at all. They just weren't allowed to talk about him. And I just think, well, doesn't that make it even worse?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying like, look, the guy obviously had problems. And I wonder if that's a little bit of embarrassment from their part.
Yeah. And, no, it absolutely is. And I think it's kind of them, sweeping them under the rug.
Yeah.
And kind of sweeping their portion of fault under the rug, right? I'm not, like I said, I think Chris is fully at fault. But yeah, there's things that they could have done. There's things that they put their employees through, which make him susceptible to things like CTE,
Yeah.
Steroid use,
Yeah.
prescription pain medication abuse. So they have to in order to protect themselves, they also have to to protect their employees, and I don't think they're doing nearly enough to protect them.
And it's not like you don't know it's happening. It's not like that they don't know that this is a huge secret that nobody knows. They know that this is going on. They know that, I mean, a lot of the wrestlers have gone from being wrestlers to then going up to be management and having, training and doing that kind of thing with the new wrestlers and stuff because they've retired or whatever. So they know, they've been through the ranks, they've done it. So they know that this is going on. Where's the support? I mean, yes, what he did was awful, but the guy had issues, and why now have they just erased him instead of just saying, right, let's look at this. He was a wrestler, he was great in his career. However, behind the scenes, nobody realized that this was at the point that it was, and this is really sad and really bad, and we don't want this to happen again. So let's look at this and learn from it instead of just like sweeping him under the carpet like he never existed. I just don't understand why it's bad to speak about him. Why is it bad to speak about him? Surely that he should be a lesson, to other people.
Exactly. No, and I think also because of that, some people have unfortunately received backlash or continue to get backlash from what Chris Benoit does.
Yeah.
His son David continually gets harassing emails or texts or tweets that are directed to him about his father.
I hated seeing that. I hated it because Chris Benoit is his dad. First and foremost, that's his dad. And never mind the wrestler that everybody knows and now hates. But that poor guy, he's done nothing to deserve the nastiness that he's getting purely because he loves his dad. I mean, that's just, and like he said, my dad has always been my hero, and he still is my hero. I can't help it. He's my dad and I love him. And I just feel so sorry for him. I just
Absolutely.
seeing him talk. I just wanted to just give him such a big hug because I don't think it's fair that people should treat him like that.
No, absolutely. And even like Chavo Guerrero will get like, tweets or DMs. Like they'll DM him, like they'll say, "Hey, the dogs are in the pool area," or whatever. Whatever Chris's last texts were.
Yeah.
Why? Chavo has nothing to do with it, and it's like there's no reason for people to be harassing his son or his friends or family. It doesn't need to be happening.
And they didn't know that this was going to happen. His family and friends have all said that they did have their problems. But even his doctor said when he saw him that weekend that there were no signs that there were any problems. And I think it's just really awful to target his son and they haven't really said a lot about his daughter, but to target his remaining family. And also I think it's reading that the WWE also sort of wash their hands of his son too. And I think that's really sad because you would have thought them as an industry would go, right, okay, we've got to look after this lad now because his dad has died, his whole family's died. It's a huge media speculation, and this guy is going to be under fire from a lot of different areas. Why aren't they stepping up to like help him and look after him?
Yeah. I do think probably within the past year or two, I think they did finally like let him backstage. This is talking about David. Living backstage at one of their events. I think it was up in Calgary where he lives, and I think that was the first time that he's actually been allowed like backstage and to see some of the guys and to say hello. Now these are, you got to remember too, like growing up as a kid, having his dad being Chris Benoit, he would go to shows with them, and he would get to meet all these people who really were like, hey, these are dad's friends.
That's
and a lot
right.
of them were family. So I do think recently he was able to actually go backstage, but yeah, you're absolutely right. For the longest time, he was, I don't want to say blackballed or whatever, but yeah, he was.
They didn't exactly put their hands out to help him, did they?
They weren't welcoming. No, absolutely not. Yeah,
that's really sad. I think that's really, really sad.
Absolutely. Now, this is we probably talked a lot, but this is a very small portion of the whole story. It really is. If you want to get more, learn more about it, I really think you need to check out. Vice has a television show called The Dark Side of the Ring, and they did a 2-part episode. I think it was this last season. I think it was maybe the
third season, was it? It was
third season. Yeah. It was the first 2 episodes. I think it was in regards to Chris Benoit, and they actually get into a lot into regards to Eddie Guerrero as well. So definitely check it out. Very, very interesting. Very well done. Interviews with his son David, Vicky Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, so Chris Jericho. So if you want to learn more about the whole story and learn what we missed
and be obsessed like we've been for the past 7 days.
No, absolutely. All right, Jerry, anything else before we call it a day?
No, I think we've done a good job. There's a lot of info to get through, and it's a sad, I just think overall this is just a really sad case, this one.
Absolutely. I'm sure that we're going to end and I'm going to think, damn it, why don't we talk about that? There's going to be something I missed or something I forgot, because the story is there's so much to it. I'm probably going to keep looking into it, and there's probably something I'm going to learn that I haven't known. So
I'm interested to see what other people think as well. So if you do want to send us some messages on Twitter, or if you want to send us some Instagram message on your thoughts on this, then we'd love to hear them, because there's I think it's interesting to think what other people think about it. It's sort of, we've been obsessed, haven't we? So it's interesting to see what everybody else makes of it.
Yeah. And I think, on this show, we haven't really done such a huge, deep dive like this. I mean, we've covered cases before, but this is a very, very deep dive that we did. And I kind of still feel like we kind of sugarcoated everything a little bit. We didn't get true crime garage-y too much.
No.
But if there's any other cases that you would love us to talk about and to kind of dive into, let us know. We're always interested in finding new things to talk about, and new cases that we might not even know. It's easy to do some of these popular cases because there's so much information, but anything, if you have something that you want us to cover or talk about, shoot it our way, and we would love to talk about it.
Definitely.
Yeah, so thanks for listening. Thanks for checking us out. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always,
be nice.
Thanks for listening to Captain & Morgan. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. You can follow Captain & Morgan on Instagram @TheCaptain&Morgan, or you can visit their website at captainandmorgan.com.